Hey guys, this is Tom from Numbers Game Lifestyle, and today we're going to talk about how important or not important your words are whenever you do cold approach, day game, whenever you talk to a new woman who you've never met before. And I've got news for you. The words in which you say matter very little in the grand scheme of things, whether you end up with this girl, whether you get a phone number, whether you get a date. The words that you say in your initial approach are completely, almost meaningless. Okay, so by the time a girl, you get her phone number and you leave, she's not even going to remember what she talked about. She's not going to remember what you asked her, because the whole thing's kind of like, it's like a whirlwind from that, 1 to 5 minutes that you talk to her. She's really not going to remember exactly, because it's a rush in terms of a guy asking her out. She can't recall exactly what you guys talked about anyways, so it's really not that important. Now, what is important in the grand scheme of things is whether or not this girl is sexually available. Meaning, is this girl in the market for a new man? Meaning, is she single and ready to mingle? Meaning, she's looking for men to date, get to know, possibly a relationship, hook up, whatever, but she's on the market for a new man. And these are rare. The vast majority of women are not in the market for a new man. It doesn't matter how great you are, how good your game is, how good looking you are, how much money you make. They're just not in the market for a new man at this point in their life. They're not looking for one. Okay, so the first prerequisite is she sexually available, which is, a small portion of the female population. Next is, does she find you attractive? And if she finds you physically attractive, your success is pretty much guaranteed, provided you don't say something completely stupid and sabotage your chances of meeting this girl. So, first kind of scenario, I just want you to imagine you at the grocery store and you see your dream girl, looking at produce, in the produce aisle, and right away you're filled with, pressure and anxiety about what you should say to her. Oh, what if I say this? How do I start a conversation? I don't know what to say. The answer is pretty much anything. Just ask a question to get the ball rolling. It doesn't matter what it is. Just find out. This is you tossing her a ball and seeing what she does with it. So if she's maybe looking at cantaloupes, what do you think of those cantaloupes? Are they in season, or do they look any good? Anything, maybe she's looking at some other product on the grocery aisle. Are those any good? I've never had those before. And then she'll follow up and she'll say oh yeah, I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out these cantaloupes are ripe. That kind of look kind of hard to me. And then I'll look into her basket and see what else she's got and be what else you got in there? Looks like you got a dinner planned or whatever. Just ask her any kind of question. And then she'll be oh yeah, I'm trying to make this Italian dish that I saw on YouTube or whatever. And you just keep on asking questions. And if you keep on getting positive answers in terms of the girl seems to enjoy, is positive, and you say, hey, what's your name, by the way? My name's Tom. And you reach out your hand and she'll shake your hand, tell her your name, and you introduce each other. And at this point you can say well, Jessica, would you like to grab drinks or frozen yogurt sometime? And she'll either say yes, yeah, sounds good, or no. And that's it. That's all you do. You just ask a couple of questions, and if she's answering positively, you ask her out. And it doesn't take any magic words or any kind of dominance games or any kind of humor, teasing, or anything like that. You're just carrying a conversation like a normal human being. And yeah, that's all it takes in terms of, getting a phone number, arranging a date for another time. And do not take that like women not asking you questions as a sign of disinterest, or women kind of being short with their answers as a sign of disinterest. No, those are perfectly fine. The majority of women do not even ask me any questions when I approach them, because I'm the one leading the conversation. I'm the one asking the questions. So they don't have time to really ask me any questions. And that's fine. You do not take that as a sign of disinterest. What is a sign of disinterest is if girls are trying to get away from you. Maybe you like ask her about like the broccoli and she's like, oh yeah, like doesn't look that great, like bye, and kind of like walks away. Yeah, then leave her. Let her be. She's not interested. Or maybe you're at like a bus stop and she can't move away from you. This time you have to like ask a couple questions. And if you continually get like short answers and it almost seems like she's annoyed that you're asking her questions, yes, then cut bait and leave her be. But sometimes women, I remember my first cold approach girlfriend, her answers were really short. I remember seeing her at a bus stop and we made eye contact and she smiled at me and I smiled back. And once she got on the bus, I sat next to her and she was nervous. Despite like smiling at me, she was very nervous. She was a lot younger than me. And when I asked her a question like, hey, like where are you heading? Like, where are you heading? She's like, oh, I'm just like going home. And that was it. And I'm like, okay, like what were you up to before? Oh, she's like, oh, just hanging out at, I forget what it was, with her friends or something. And I remember thinking like, maybe this girl isn't very interested. Like she smiled at me before, but maybe she's just, maybe I was like imagining things. But I figured like one more shot, let's give this a go. And then I asked her another question and she opened up completely. Like the floodgates were open. She was nonstop talking, I couldn't get her to shut up. Yeah, grabbed her number, arranged a date. Yeah, we ended up dating for like 2 years, being in a relationship for 2 years. So don't take initial, nervousness or initial closed offness as a sign of disinterest. What is a sign of disinterest? If she looks annoyed that you're asking her questions, then you can assume, yeah, this girl's not into me, and it's probably a good thing that we don't continue this. And same thing if a girl is trying to get away from you, as soon as you ask her a question, leave her be. She's screened out, move on to the next one. And yes, so do not worry about, what to say in terms of like being dominant and like acting sexual or, sexualizing the approach. Completely unnecessary. The only reason you need to sexualize an approach is if you're trying to get laid that night, trying to like take her home right now. Then you have to like sexualize it. But if you're just trying to get a phone number and arrange a date at another time, you just talk like a normal person. Talk like you're talking to like the old man at the bus stop. Can you do that? Can you ask an old man and start a conversation with him and carry it and get to know him? If you can do that, you can do the same thing with like hot women at the bus stop, at the grocery store, at the gym. That's all that's required. First requirement, is she sexually available? Second requirement, does she find you attractive? Third requirement, can you carry a conversation like a normal person and, be trustworthy? Speak like a normal person. Can she trust you? That's it. At that point, like the stage is set. You've got all the ingredients for a great sex life. So yes, I even noticed this with like doing car sales when I sold cars. It really didn't matter like what we talked about. It really didn't matter how much I knew the product. What mattered was, can he trust me? And how desperate he was for the car. And yeah, that was about it. Like, can I carry a conversation like a normal human being? There really is no advantage to knowing a lot about the cars or being like super smooth and any of that stuff. Smoothness is not required. All I talk about for 1 to 5 minutes is what are they doing? What is their names? where they work, where they go to school, anything, super generic things that, you know, anybody would ask. So yes, that's all that's required. Carry a conversation like a normal human being and you're golden. The words don't matter. Just ask questions and be positive. And you have to understand that this is a complete numbers game. Some girls are just going to look at you and trust you immediately. Like, they could trust you with their life immediately. And some girls, I noticed this even with like girls and like car customers, some of them are just weird. They're like paranoid that you're trying to like, you know, screw them over somehow. And they won't trust you. Doesn't matter how much what you talk about or how much trust you build. They're just not going to trust you. They don't like the look of you or the vibe that you give off. That is the numbers game. Maybe these people are just hyper paranoid. Or maybe like, yeah, we're just not genetically compatible, whatever. But that's the numbers game in action. The majority of people should not be skeptical of you, should not be like, can I trust this guy? No, the majority of people should respond positively to you asking questions. All right, guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching.